Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you all for being here. I, Jacqueline Colton, President of the Duncanville ISD Board of Trustees, do call this meeting of the Duncanville ISD Trustees to order. Let the record show a quorum of the Board of Trustees is present, that the meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Our mission at Duncanville ISD is to engage, equip, and empower all scholars to achieve their unique potential. We will now move to opening ceremonies. First item on our agenda is the invocation, and I ask that Trustee Veracruz would please lead us.
Thank you, Madam President. Please bow your heads for a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening as we have a meeting of the minds. We pray in your presence, Father God, to delegate discussions hopefully and healthful. I pray, Father God, for the welfare of our district and the students involved and the leaders and the educators, that they have a heart and a passion to continue to do what is their gifting. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Next, we move to the pledges to the U.S. flag and the Texas flag. Thank you. I now turn the workshop over to Dr. Gorey.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and all trustees assembled today. Thank you so much first for coming out tonight and giving us an opportunity to present the roadmap to impact. Tonight, we're really excited to have an opportunity to highlight all of the things that we're excited about that are happening in our academic division of our school system. Culminating that, we're talking about some things that are different. And, you know, when we first started this process with Madam President and I were talking about this about a little over a week ago, almost 2 weeks ago, it seemed like a mammoth task. But I will tell you, as we begin to build this, it has really been reinforced. Some things that are different and some things that we truly do believe will make a difference in our district. Tonight, what we'd like to start over is we're going to go through, we divided the presentation up into what ultimately is 6 sections. We will, because this is a work session, and we do want this to be an interactive. At the end of each section, we will stop and entertain questions. We feel that's going to be a better way of us doing that versus waiting until we get to the end. Tonight we're going to start off, we're going to talk a little about curriculum and pacing, assessment and data, academic interventions, support structures, our instructional leadership implementations, as well as one of those things that are different that we're doing this year from last year. We certainly want to start tonight by thanking our principals as we celebrate October, which is National Principals Month. I want to thank them for give it up for the principals. And know that as I've talked to Madam President, that was a part of our conversation with wanting you to come out so we can celebrate you too. And just to reinforce how much we support you and how challenging we know your seats are, but that we're here to support you. And the board certainly wanted to have an opportunity to put a face with a school and make sure that you just know we support you. What I want to do tonight, though, as we begin our meeting is, I want the principals, they're going to introduce themselves. In fact, there are several staff members that are in the room tonight, some that you don't see always at board meetings, so we're going to all introduce ourselves. We're going to say our name. I am Dr. Margori. My title is I'm the superintendent, and I serve in the administration of the school district. Something that I'm super excited about with this year is the academic traction that we have seen in just a month. And really, it's been kind of a 3-week window there since we really turned everything on, and really excited about what that's going to look like as we move forward. So we're going to take a quick second and just let our principal stand, and we'll start right here with Ms. Robinson. And Stan, introduce yourself, your title, where you serve, and just give us one highlight of your celebration.
Good afternoon. I am Yolanda Robinson, the proud principal of Hastings Elementary STEM Academy. And one thing that I am proud of this year is that we are intentionally focused on student data analysis after every assessment. We are very intentional about identifying the misconceptions that students have and creating a plan to reteach those things.
Thank you.
Good evening. I am Dr. Tanya Jones, and I'm the principal at Barefoot Elementary. One thing that I am proud of this year is that we are focused on being intentional about tracking student and teacher growth. We are working knee to knee with our deputy chief to create student and teacher data trackers. So we are monitoring subgroups to make sure that each child is achieving not just academic achievement, but also that they are working towards achieving their growth measure. So we can work our way to earning a C or higher.
Good evening, my name is Ayanna Parker, and I'm the principal at Central Fine Arts Academy. One bright spot this year is that we are focused on bringing our vision to life with clarity and alignment while working collaboratively with district leaders and departments while learning from other successful fine arts academies as we build a framework for academic success.
I'm Dr. Tiffany Stacks, and I'm the principal of Duncanville High School Collegiate Academy. And one area of celebration is I want to continue to build upon the fact that we earned 12 out of 16 distinctions for our program last year. So I want to continue to build upon that, continue to increase the number of associate's degrees attained.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Alicia Phillips. I'm the principal at Alexander. And this year, one thing we're really proud of is that we are empowering student leadership through kids learning how to own their own data and track their data this year. I'm working with my chief to help all my staff become very data literate so that they also are empowered to own their classroom data.
Good evening, I'm Jessica Linwood. I'm the proud principal of Charles Act Leadership Academy. And I'm especially proud this year that in the past year, we were able to close some of our gaps in our LEP population, which had been a concern for a few years. I'm especially excited to be working with our chief to continue to close those gaps through data-driven accountability. So we look at each individual student. We want all of our students to be able to meet their growth goals this year.
Good evening, I'm Dan Copeland, proud principal of Duncanville High School, and what we are most proud of is our 97.5% CCMR rate, and we are shooting for 100% this year.
Good afternoon, I am Junior Crosby, the proud principal of Duncanville Elementary. One of my proudest moments is Daniel has officially and successfully transitioned from an intermediate school to an elementary school. So I'm so proud of that. Also, I'm working in collaboration with my chief, creating systems to track data. And when I speak of data, I'm talking about student data and teacher data. As we're coaching, we're monitoring, and we are providing that feedback to increase student achievement as well as student growth.
Good evening, I'm Tiffany Wilkerson, the proud principal of Pace High School. I am extremely proud that right now we are currently serving about 100 students in our district, which has been the highest enrollment that we've had in a very long time. So we are on track to really exceed our snapshot data that we have had in the past several years. I'm also excited that our theme this year is Chart Success, which is in alignment with our goal to become a very data literate campus. And so working side by side with my chief to ensure that we are putting in systems where not only me as a leader, but also my teachers, my attendance office, everyone has a system in where we are tracking data so that that we are meeting the needs of all of our, the whole child on our team.
Good evening, I am Tamara Thompson, trying to think of another word for proud. And I am the proud principal of Kennemer Middle School and STEAM Academy. One thing that I'm proud of this year is the intentionality that we have in regards to strengthening Tier 1 instruction, and also that we are utilizing the curriculum with fidelity. And so the team seems to be on board with that. In addition to that, we're making sure that we are providing the aligned supports that we need to make sure that we're able to reach our goal by the end of the 2026 school year, with 85% of our students being at approaches, 45% at meets, and 35% at masters. When we did a kickoff in 6th grade last week, they let me know that we will not only meet that, but we will beat that. So we are.
Good evening, my name is Raheem Williams. I'm honored to be the principal of the Summit Education Center. And I am excited to inform you that 100% of our students at the Summit have a targeted TEAC goal that they track weekly with their teacher, turning their discipline time away from just being disciplined into being a learning and growth opportunity for them.
Good evening, my name is Derek Ross. I'm the principal of Hyman Elementary, where our theme this year is from ABCs to PhDs. What I am proud of this year, on September the 17th, we had our first calibration walk with district personnel, where we monitored TEAC alignment, where we also monitored use of the HQIM, also student engagement, academic discourse, and writing. There were 7 different dimensions that we monitored on those walks, and as a collective campus, we scored from a 1 to 4, 4 being the highest, a 3 or better in 6 of those domains.
All right, good evening. My name is LaTanya Dennis. I am the proud principal at Bill Hart's Elementary. So one thing I am just extremely proud about this school year is we are working to become a data literate campus. So I am doing some very intentional work with my deputy chief to implement student and teacher data trackers. And so what this will ensure is that students are taking ownership of their learning, and then us as the leaders of the campus, we are tracking those individual subgroups so we can ensure we begin to close gaps in domain 3 and make sure students are reaching achievement. Good evening, I'm Ken Amelie. My name is Valentina Bannister. I am the assistant principal of Reed Middle School, standing instead of Principal Dr. Elijah Granger. One thing that I am very proud of at Reed Middle School is our focus on students and teachers understanding and knowing student data, as well as having a growth mindset. This year, we're going to work with the deputy chief to create a culture where every person on our campus has individual ownership and expectation for excellence and high achievement to ensure that we have a grade of B or better.
Good evening, I am Crystal Thompson, the principal of Harding Elementary. One thing that I'm very excited about and to celebrate is our partnership with Sustained Ed, and how we are not only just focusing on student data, but making sure that our teachers are able to actually provide, the lessons to our students. So we're focused on internalization, and not only with our partnership with Sustained Ed, but I'm also happy that with my chief, Dr. Wyatt, she has come to the campus. We've made a game plan to make sure that not only are students successful, but our teachers are successful in the classroom in partnership to change the culture. And our goal at Harding, and everyone is on board, is an A. That's the only way.
Hello, I'm Pablo Orozco. I'm the proud principal of Fairbanks Elementary. Something that I'm extremely proud of is to serve the community that I'm currently at. It's a really close-knit community that allows us to work together with making sure that all students and anybody that comes into our building feels welcome. Some of the things that we're doing across our campus is make sure that we're monitoring wind time, monitoring tier 1 instruction in order to make sure that our students are being successful every day.
It's a pleasure to close us out. So I'm William Davis, principal of Bird Middle School. One thing that I'm very excited about is just the work that we have done on campus this year, becoming data rich and understanding what the data looks like from attendance and the correlation from attendance to grades. So one of the things we we talked about this morning in our meeting was, we got a reward for having the highest attendance for the month of September. And so like I told them, we're very intentional in everything we do. So when you get an email from the attendance clerk, why didn't you take your attendance within that first 10 minutes? There's a reason why. And so when we start to see those successes, of course, that's the feel good. But setting goals, setting targets, knowing what those goals and targets are, and knowing that it goes beyond just my leadership team, all the way down to the kids, but most importantly, the families. I think that is the missing piece that we have at Bird Middle School, is our parents don't always know what we're testing, when we're testing, and why we're giving those tests. So we're gonna have some parent meetings to make sure that they're well informed of everything we have going on, because it's a partnership, to ensure that we get to the B that we know that we can be.
Ms. Hernandez?
Hi, I'm Rosa Hernandez, one of the new deputy chiefs of school leadership. I serve the school improvement campuses, and I am super excited that the past 12 days, just getting to know the amazing community of Duncanville ISD, our amazing principals, our amazing support staff, and I'm just super excited to be here, excited to serve, and excited to see every one of our kids grow and learn. So, thank you.
Greetings. My name is Dr. Wyatt, and I'm also one of the deputy chiefs. You know, I'm usually not at a loss for words, but after hearing the principals, it brings a level of excitement to my heart. Being on the campus, going from campus to campus, seeing the kids, seeing them in their work, that is what brings me so much joy, that I'm proud of, to know that our work is not in vain. It's definitely a great payoff that we got a chance to listen to. Thank you all.
Good evening to everyone. I am Tellens Graham, and because of passionate educators that we just heard, I am a graduate of Keithville Elementary Middle School, Keithville. And that's what led me to become the chief of staff at Duncanville. So the passion that people like that have shown throughout the years. So I would like to say that what we're excited about going into this year is when you hear the things that our principals are saying, you see our new deputy chiefs, the collaboration that's happening daily, the opportunity for growth, and the preparation not only for what we're doing today, but for tomorrow as well. So we're looking forward to building on the foundation that we're setting right now. So we're looking forward to great things in Duncanville ISD.
Hi, I'm Dr. Cynthia Jarrett, and I am honored to serve as the Executive Director over Special Education. Something that excites me is working alongside such wonderful leaders. And if you notice something, all of them said each student, and that matters, because that includes our special education students, or those served in special education. So I'm really excited about that, and then also working alongside my colleagues. And I will say this, that every day I receive emails from parents wanting to transfer into our district because of the special education programming. And that's not just about us, but thank you all also for supporting our students in special education.
Hi, Brian Flint, Director of Teaching, Learning, and Advanced Academics. And this year, I'm really excited to get to partner with school leadership in the different departments across our district, as well as all of our school leaders, to look at how to improve our students' scores and really see our students grow. One way that we're doing that is that we're looking at our data and then providing real-time reteaching and reassessment for our kids so that we see that growth.
Good evening, I'm Erica Reyes. I am the Executive Director of Teaching and Learning. And one thing that I am proud of or want to celebrate this year is the systems that we have in place in collaboration with school leadership and our esteemed leaders to help move student achievement. And just like they said, everybody else has said, it's just that passion and that drive and that commitment to each student. I'm very passionate and feel very like we are on the right track and we are going to move student achievement because everybody in this room, so I want to thank you as well.
Good evening, my name is Sue Ellen Washington. I am Director of State and Federal and Intervention Services, and my work for this year is alignment, and I'm very excited about the work that we are doing across departments to really align our efforts and grow the capacity of our team, our campuses, that ultimately leads to student success.
Good evening, I'm Pamela Brown, Chief Human Resources Officer. One of the things that I'm proud of this year is establish
partnerships that we have joined with different DFW HR collaboratives. And one of the things I'm excited about this year is an HR consortium that we're participating with. Commit is new, and so we're partners this year, and they're going to help us increase our pathways for our uncertified teachers to become certified. And so that is a huge partnership, and we're beginning to work with them. And so I'm excited about that this year.
Good evening. My name is Lucretia Newton. I'm the Director of Assessment and Accountability. And the thing that excites me the most is hearing the theme of data across our campus. Sometimes that's the first hurdle that you have to jump, is convincing people that how important data-driven instruction is. And that hurdle is passed. Everybody is on board. And so I'm very excited about supporting our campuses this year.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anna Avila. I'm the Chief Communications Officer for the district, and one thing I'm very excited about and also looking forward to this school year is the fact that I get to share and help share the success stories happening at the campus with the focus of academic success. So I know that's something we're looking forward to and something we want to do moving forward. So I'm excited as a department for communications to help share those stories. So thank you, principals, for always keeping us involved and informed.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Alicia Bradley. I'm the Director of Student Services. I'm here representing Student Services and Campus Support. What I'm mostly proud of is the fact that we have rolled out our ABC initiative, attendance, academics, behavior, and culture. And so we are working with our campuses and other departments to ensure we're identifying Tier 3 students, identifying those barriers so we can ensure that our students are successful in their learning.
Good evening, Board. My name is Sam Nix, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Chief Academic Officer. The thing I'm most excited about this year is, Board, there's no secret that the sense of urgency this year has been heightened. When you work with people who dig in, who have a great sense of a growth mindset, that want to do the work, that want to make sure that they're doing what's best for kids, that brings joy. And so I am so proud of and happy for our team, that as we are putting the systems in place, as that sense of urgency is where it is, as the work and what we're focused on has been so intentional, that they have a growth mindset, that they have a passion to want to. It is a pleasure to work with and lead the team that wants to get it right for students instead of trying to find excuses as to why we can't. I'm so proud of our team, our principals for that.
All right, thank you all. All right, give yourself another applause. I'm not going to labor on a lot of things, but I promise you, we are on the road to seeing championship experiences in every classroom. And we're going to present some of that information tonight. And you know, one thing, I was talking with the president, we were texting back and forth yesterday, and I said, you're just going to be so excited. And I said, but save your excitement for the scores, because I promise you, it's about a big celebration in this town, because we are about academics. Just as important as it is for that football team to win, that band to win, we are about to win big time in the classroom. So really excited to begin that conversation with the board tonight. And I want to thank the board too for being a part of this conversation. Again, I think the state has put us in some difficult situations with not releasing test scores, with lawsuits and things of that nature. But we are happy that we're here in this season, happy that we get to embrace the scores, but more importantly, we get to build on them and show you what an incredible learning experience we have right here in Duncanville. We're going to start off tonight by talking of, yes, ma'am? Yes.
Can we introduce ourselves?
I think so.
Because
Okay.
I had my little speech already made.
Okay. Would you like to go first?
No, I think it's on the bill right.
Okay.
I'm Phil McNeely, been around here 43 years, and still glad to be standing. We're looking for a great year. What I'd like to get out of tonight is that we all know we're on the same page, and we can all be a member of one team and roll like a steam roller.
All right.
Well, I'm Carla Fahey. This is my 40th year to be a volunteer in Duncanville ISD, my 20th year to serve on our board. And I was an old teacher back when y'all probably weren't born. But I've always loved this experience. And my excitement is that we're all here together, and I've got names and faces, and I want us to be a big family. A long time ago, we were a really big family, and we'd see each other, and we knew where we lived, we knew our families. I knew if you had grandkids, or if you had 2 children, or 4. I'd like for us to be a big, happy family again. I don't care about yours, I know. But anyway, I'm just happy, I'm just excited to see you all. And thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Okay, see.
Thank you.
You're so neat.
Hello, everyone. I'm Trustee Phillips, and I'm not giving a long speech. I just want to say thank you. We're excited that you all are here. We're just looking forward to getting the work done for our students of Duncanville. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jackie Colton. I'm excited to see you all here tonight, but I'm more excited that you're at the end, in the day-to-day and working with our students, to make sure that they achieve, the goals and learn the things that they need to learn. So we wanted to let you all know that we're in there with you all. Whatever we can provide, through our superintendent that will help you all, we're all on board for it. And so we're your biggest cheerleaders. And we just want to see the students succeed and be able to, achieve in life and, have good careers and take care of their families. So thank you for what you do, every day. And, keep at it. And like you all have shared with us, you're watching the data and all of that, so you're closely tracking, so you know what's going on. And even, I heard a number of you say your students even, are aware of their progress. So thank you for doing what you're doing, and we're excited to learn, about, curriculum and pacing and everything that you all have planned. And thank you to the superintendent for arranging for this workshop tonight. We appreciate you.
I'm Trustee Vera Cruz, and this is my 3rd term sitting in the seat, and I am excited to be here to hear your story, what you're going through, and that we are all here to support you. I am a prayerful woman, so I believe in each and every one of you have a gift, and you are coming in to lead and impact. And so our takeaway is to help come alongside you and to hear how we can help come and be your cheerleader at that moment, at that time you need us the most.
Okay, thank you very much. I just think I have to give a special thanks to our president, though, because she truly does push me in the thinking space around how we can be better, and I truly do appreciate that. And we always get along well, but I just want to publicly appreciate you, because there's been so many conversations that we've had that have led to how I have directed and supported the team. And full disclosure, we're not there yet. We are still developing and working, but we do know that we're on the path to success, okay? So again, we're gonna start out tonight talking about the curriculum and pacing. I'm gonna invite some staff members are going to present. Of course, we'll stop at each section to answer questions. So the segments are not very long and exhaustive, but we will give you information. So tonight I'd like to invite Erica Reyes and Ryan Flint to come up. They're going to start the presentation off. After they present, again, we'll pause. I'll be available, Dr. Nick will be available to support them as we help to answer those questions. And we're starting off with curriculum pacing. And this is one of the areas that actually began the conversation that led to tonight's meeting around our curriculum and around what does our pacing look like, and how are we making sure that students are being provided with those skills that they need so they can be successful when state testing comes. One thing I want to caution you on too tonight is that Ms. Newton's kind of hit on this. This test is a lot about the game and understanding the numbers and understanding the data. So tonight we're going to speak to those things that we're doing too that quite frankly we hadn't done in the past, that's going to automatically increase our school performance scores, okay? So we'll speak to some of those things too.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Gorey. And Board, thank you so much for this opportunity to present to you on curriculum and pacing. First, we would like to start off with setting the foundation. We know that Tier 1 instruction is the foundation of learning in every classroom. It is high-quality, engaging instruction that all students receive daily, designed so that students can be successful. This instruction is built directly on the TEKS, or the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, which are the state standards outlining what students should know and be able to do at each grade level and for each content. The TEKS provide consistency and equity across the state, ensuring that students in every district are working toward the same learning expectations. So having strong Tier 1 instruction is the focus of our curriculum and instruction and school leadership departments. We partner, align, and support campuses to achieve this goal. When Tier 1 instruction is strong and it's aligned to the TEKS, it gives all students an access to rigorous, meaningful learning and prepares them for future success. So how do we have curriculum, pacing, and alignment? I'm going to turn it over to my partner so that he can let us know.
Good evening, President Colton, school board members, and Dr. Corey. So one of the things that I wanted us to look at first is the TEKS resource system. We utilize this to help us pace our curriculum. It provides a bit of a framework for us to guide when we're going to be teaching what to our students. It offers that clear timeline so that we ensure that all of our students are getting through the material that they need to get through at each grade level. Another thing that we look at is the district academic calendar. And this is going to help us meet our state requirements for learning, making sure that we've got the appropriate mixture of instructional days, professional learning, and breaks to support both teaching and learning. And that calendar is structured around key state and district testing windows with built-in opportunities for teacher collaboration, planning, and training. We also have pacing guides that ensure essential standards are taught. So in your packet, so under the curriculum and pacing tab, if you look under there, document number 1 is the pacing guide. You will see your 3rd grade pacing guide. It is the curriculum and pacing tab.
So it should be your first tab. And at the top it says 25, 26, 3rd grade math following pacing guide.
Got that. So as you're looking at that
One thing I'll say is that this is just the example of the one from 3rd grade. We have these for all.
We have these for all grade levels, all content areas. So as we're looking at this 3rd grade one, you'll notice there for August 14, I'll say L1, and that just stands for lesson 1. And this helps structure out when each lesson is going to be taught. You'll also notice that there are flex days there, because you'll see that flex day. And those flex days can be used for multiple purposes, such as reteaching and reassessment for spiral reviews of past materials. You'll also notice that inside of this, we have our end of module district assessment. So if you look down towards September 10th, you'll see EOM 1 district assessment, and that stands for end of module. Sometimes we also will say end of unit district assessment. So you can see when those district assessments are supposed to be taken by our students. And then a week later, that's when we're going to be pulling the data and starting to analyze the data. Also, we've got essential standards identified. If you will look also at our supplemental material, which is number 2, document number 2, turn the page. Inside of this, you're going to see an example again of 3rd grade math.
And you can see the lesson and the standards, the TEKS that are going to be taught there, the learning objective, what the students are supposed to be learning, as well as a slide deck. And those slide decks are critical because they help with what is supposed to be taught during that day, as well as STAR practice for readiness standards. We'll have spiral review for every lesson here. So if you look at that STAR, you can see that that's a clickable link, and that's where you're going to open up and get some STAR practice with this. So this is another key component to our curriculum. I've also talked about essential standards. We've identified essential standards. These are the most critical standards for our students to be learning throughout the year so that they are well prepared for the next grade level. Finally, down at the bottom of this column, I want us to look at vertically aligned and standards build progressively. So our curriculum is vertically aligned, and that is critical because we want to make sure that the standards are intentionally sequenced from grade to grade, ensuring that each year builds upon the previous year. That vertical alignment is going to prevent redundancy, but it's going to also help us close gaps and connect to prior learning. So those connections to prior learning, that's really where our students are going to start to begin to learn. We need to make sure that we have those strong connections to prior learning in order for students to grasp new content. So students are going to experience this logical progression of skills, concepts, and rigor as they move through the different grade levels. And Erica, I'm going to turn it back over to you for monitoring.
So now that we have set the foundation, we talked about Tier 1 instruction. That's instruction that we see in the classroom, that we want it to be strong, successful, and aligned. Then we talked about curriculum. We talked about pacing, what that looks like on a calendar, the lessons from day to day, the flex days. Now, how do we monitor that? So the first thing that we do is we use assessment data to guide instruction and support student success. Formative, summative, and district common assessments, which you will hear more about in the next part of the presentation, help teachers and leaders see which students are actually mastering the TEKS and that they're successful with the standards, and which students may need some intervention or some additional support. This data allows us to provide immediate support and adjustments to curriculum and campuses through reteach lessons, reassessments, and even targeted teacher support. The next type of monitoring that we do is Tier 1 observations and action planning. And what this is our team conducts Tier 1 observations at the campuses once every 9 weeks, and we partner with the school principals and other departments such as special ed, bilingual department, school leadership, to ensure that instruction is consistent, aligned, and high quality across campuses. Observations using our Tier 1 observational tool, which Dr. Nix will speak more about later in the presentation, from these walks help us create action plans. And what these action plans are ways to address gaps that we see in Tier 1 instruction and strengthen teaching and learning. So, excuse me. And then one of the last bullet that you'll see there is the curriculum liaison teacher teams. And what these are teams that our content coordinators have, which include teachers and instructional leaders that work collaboratively to vet curriculum, to look at the curriculum that has been written, to look at the assessments, to make sure that they are of high quality so that we can deliver them to the classrooms. These teams, they review lessons and curriculum assessments and ensure curriculum is aligned to the standards. So by involving our teachers in this process, we're able to build their leadership capacity, maintain instructional consistency, and make some real-time adjustments for student learning. And it also allows the teachers to have a voice in what is happening with curriculum as well. So I'll turn it back over to Ryan. They meet, to vet, it's depending on when we have if it's an assessment, before the assessment. However, they do meet at least once every bi-weekly. I always get that mixed, bi-weekly, to look at what is happening with curriculum, but if it's an assessment coming up, then it could be more frequent. And according to the pacing per content, per grade level is not, it's different, so it depends on what the content is and what the grade level is as well.
So we also have a system of support for teachers, campuses, and district leaders, and that is starting off with our professional development. So with professional development, we work with different departments throughout the district, including but not limited to data and assessment, special education, language acquisition, school leadership, and with campus leaders to determine what is needed on our campuses in terms of moving our campuses forward and looking at optimizing student growth. We focus first and foremost on Tier 1 instruction, making sure that that first teach is the best teach. And we can do this through providing professional development through a process we call internalization. And I'll get into that in just a little bit, what internalization is. But that professional development plan also will include high-yield teaching strategies for the campus that are going to yield student growth. With tiered campus support, teaching and learning, we collaborate with many different departments, including our school leadership, MTSS, language acquisition, state and federal accountability. We look at data and assessment. We work with special education to look at what each of the schools need. We will work with our school leaders to figure out what's needed at each campus and tailor the needs of support to each campus. Because we want to make sure that each campus has that individualized plan for them for support. We also have professional learning communities. And inside of the professional learning communities, we do internalization protocols. So in the past, teachers would do lesson planning. So they would be handed like a textbook, and then they would have to do traditional lesson planning, gathering activities, curating things from all over, trying to figure out does this align? Does this not align? Is this activity really going to move students forward? Well, with high quality instructional materials and with the curriculum that we have, really we need our teachers to internalize that. And what that looks like is they're going to sit down, we ask just a set of questions to ensure that the students are going to learn what we need them to learn. And so this is going to help us focus on standards and objectives and how students are going to demonstrate mastery. So for example, if we did a unit internalization, we're going to start with the end in mind. We're going to have the teachers take that unit assessment so they clearly understand what the students are supposed to be able to do, what they're supposed to master by the end of that unit, and then they can build backwards. And then we do the same thing with a daily lesson internalization protocol. What is it that, how our students are going to demonstrate mastery of the concept for that day, and how are we going to help them get there to master that concept? And this is going to free up time for teachers to anticipate misconceptions and plan for student engagement, really look at customizing the curriculum to make sure it fits the individual needs of the different classrooms that we have across the district. The key to internalization is it shifts that traditional planning energy, that traditional lesson planning, to planning how students are going to learn. And this is going to result in stronger instruction and better outcomes. Lastly, we have instructional coaches. And these coaches are there to help with our teachers, to help support them, to help them plan, to help them internalize lessons, to make sure that the lessons are aligned to standards. Their work is designed explicitly to improve student learning outcomes. They're going to do this by ensuring that the district curriculum and initiatives are applied effectively inside the classroom. They can do this through coaching cycles. They can go in, observe, see what's happening in the classrooms, be side by side with the teachers, come up with a plan of support, and coach that teacher so that they are really helping our students grow in an optimal way.
Before we take your questions, just at a high level, what Dave presented and spoke to is that in our district, we do have a Tier 1 curriculum. And what that means is that we have a curriculum that the state has vetted that provides all students with high-quality instruction every day. We teach every child on grade level every day. And we'll talk a little later about the interventions for our students that are not on grade level. Now, as we teach this curriculum, there's a pacing guide. So we know, the principals know exactly where their teachers should be. And it is the principal's responsibility to make sure that we are progressing through that curriculum at a rate where every child will be exposed to everything they need to be exposed to before they're tested. So that's our pacing part of that. I think the monitoring is where we're going to make the biggest difference in that we are assessing children every step of the way. Now, one thing I'll speak to is that we talked about how when we assess students, we can adjust students' learning, but we also can adjust the pacing guides and teacher behaviors also as we do those things. And of course, we do have several systems of support when we see that there is a need for something to change. I do believe when we talk about the data section, what you're going to see is the biggest difference is how we're using data every day to make those quick decisions versus waiting to make those decisions. But we will take any questions from the board on this section at this time.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
When you, Mr. Flint was talking about collaboration, the high yield teaching, what does collaboration mean and what does it look like?
So it can mean, so for me, when you're looking at collaboration with the different departments, specifically when we're looking at like professional development, it's working with our language acquisition to see what our EB students need. So I'll work with Maria Hernandez, who is the director of language acquisition, and we'll look at what the EB students need to move them forward. So we'll put in something like QSSA or Talk Read, Talk Write, some very specific strategies, high yield strategies that help students with their language acquisition. And those are two things that would help with them. So we'll collaborate there. That would be one example. Does that help?
And yes, it does, thank you. And so when we find that more time, or time is of the essence when they're not the assessment that's high, at the high end, right? Because there's an assessment done, right? So do the students that need the extra time, are they met with?
Yes, so there is time built into the campus schedules for students who need extra time. And we'll get into some of that in just a little bit later and how we do that, but yes.
How many instructional coaches do we have?
So we've got 9.
We have
11? Oh, thank you, Sue Ellen.
Is it 11 instructional coaches?
That includes this one.
And Dr. Washington, when we do the intervention part, she'll speak a little bit to that too. Yes, ma'am.
And how are they divided? Elementary, secondary, how are they 11?
Dr. Washington?
We have 3 campuses that have a full-time instructional coach, and that was based on needs at that time. And then we have 6 elementary campuses that have split. And so we have 3
Dr.
additional.
Washington, can you come to the mic? They can't hear you. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Tell me what campuses have full-time.
How many
Which
campuses?
campus? Yeah, which ones?
So all of our middle schools have one. We have 2 at the high school, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bill Hart, Acton, and Daniel.
Bill, Hart, Acton, Daniel, 1 at each middle school and 2 at the high school.
And then at the other 3, the 6 elementary campuses, we have halftime. So 3 additional ones.
And if you'll remember, this is one of the positions that we repurposed from our budget cuts last year. And again, one thing I'll stress too, even as we go through this conversation, we'll definitely talk about this more as we go into our budget seasons around really making sure, as we address our budget, which we have to do, we make sure that academics and students drive those decisions. And that's a space that our team has spent a lot of time in. Any other questions with curriculum and pacing? Yes, sir.
So the curriculum liaison teams consist of teachers that are in the classroom, teachers are throughout the campuses.
So the district, we pull teachers from different, all the campuses have teachers that are pulled to be a part of that team.
It is per content.
So each subject area has a team that we pull together.
Yeah.
And again, that's to ensure that that teacher voice is still a part of the decisions, because oftentimes it's easy for us to make decisions, but if you don't have some type of way of making sure that teacher voice is a part of that, it can lead to, it could lead to bad things. Absolutely. Oh yeah, that's kind of when we do our intervention part. It's done. Today. Any other questions on this section? Yes, ma'am.
So did I understand to say, did I hear correctly, that teachers take assessments to figure out their knowledge of the curriculum?
Yep.
They take assessments prior to teaching to ensure that they understand what
Yes.
the goals are?
Yes, as part of the internalization process, they will, so when they're doing that unit internalization, they'll take that end of unit assessment so they know what the students are going to have to do and to demonstrate mastery of that unit. Yes.
Yeah, and what you see there is that because, say when I was a teacher, we would pretty much get a book and write our own curriculum. We know better than that now, and we have these research-based curriculums, but you cannot just pass a teacher a curriculum and say, teach it. You have to get the teacher to internalize the curriculum and to begin by working through the assessments, then planning your lessons. That way, it's not just this canned curriculum, but you're internalizing it to what your students need in your classrooms.
And then how is what has been described here changed from last year, if anything?
So I think a lot of the change, and y'all are welcome to share too, it's the intentionality of what we're doing. I think our curriculum, we're in a different curriculum, and I'll speak a little bit to our curriculum later on in the presentation as well when it's my turn to talk. And, but we have a different curriculum. I think that the intentionality around the curriculum, the way we are assessing almost daily the curriculum and modifying and making changes are some of the things that are definitely different from exactly the way we did it last year. Anything with the general like to add to that? I think.
President Colton, to add to that, one of the things with the curriculum that we had last year was 49% of our teachers are 0 to 3 years. 15% of our teachers are not certified. So, as Dr. Reese said, giving them the curriculum was not yielding what we needed. We have to provide a more scripted curriculum for them. So one of the things that we're working through, not there yet for all of them, is not just giving them the curriculum, but providing scripts on those curriculum for them to follow so that as they internalize it, they have a guide just because they're new. And that's a mind shift, because when I was a principal, by golly, you're gonna learn it and you're gonna figure it out. But that's not where we are today. And we have to give them the tools to be successful and then help them with those tools. So that is something that I've charged the department with as it's a progression as we're going through to make sure that those teachers have those slides, have those guides, have those internalization pieces, so that as those teachers are teaching, they're not teaching just from what they think or even a member through the PLC process. They have a script that they're following, and we're helping them.
And who develops the script?
That's our coordinators that work on those scripts in their slide.
So I guess the Tier 1 observation and action planning, that's every teacher is evaluated every 9 weeks, or how does that work?
Oh, she's talking about calibration walk? Yes. Every campus that's the calibration walk, and Mr. McNeely will love this. There's coming later a section on calibration one period, where we talk about that, and we actually take a look at the tool. And what we
Y'all just have all the great questions in the first section. We thought this would make it easy. Thank you. So now I would like to invite Ms. Newton, our Director of Assessment and Accountability, to come up. And just full disclosure, I'm 16 months into this seat, and if you were to ask me my biggest observation for my first 12 months in the seat of where this district has to make immediate change, it's how we utilize data. It's not that we did not have data, but we did not have an effective plan to utilize the data to get us to the next level. And Ms. Newton has come in and has been a game changer in how we look at data. So she's gonna cover data and how we're utilizing data, how we're a lot around how we're doing assessment in our district.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, and Dr. Goree. I appreciate the opportunity tonight to share with you a little bit about what the Assessment and Data Department does. If you will turn in your binders to the tab that says Assessment Plan and Data, there is a handout in there. It is page 3. That is a big picture of our assessments that we give here in Duncanville ISD over the course of the year. We're going to talk about what the 3 main types of those assessments are, starting with our diagnostic assessment. A diagnostic is like when you go to the doctor for your physical. You're not going because you're sick necessarily. You just want a picture of where you are on that day. And that's what a diagnostic assessment does. It tells us where our kids are on that particular time. We give that 3 times a year, the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and the end of the year, to see if they have grown during the course of the year. The intention is to determine student strengths and also some areas for intervention, knowing where they start and how they grow throughout the year. The 2 main diagnostics that we give are the iReady, which is given to all of our K through 8 students in reading and math, and also the MAP assessment, which is given to all of our high school students in all 4 core subjects, and it's given to our 5th and 8th grade science students. The next type of assessment is a formative assessment. We talk about a student's formative years or as they're growing and developing, and that's what a formative assessment is to see how a student is growing towards mastering their grade level TEKS. So we want to know how they're progressing throughout the year, and we have several different types of formative assessments. The first couple of types are given in the classroom. The teacher has the opportunity to give what's called an exit ticket. That's something they give at the end of the class period. They ask the student to write a sentence explaining or giving an idea of the main topic, the main idea of that day's lesson, to see if the student understood that lesson. They may give 1 math problem to see if the student understands how to work that problem. And that gives the teacher real-time data to know tomorrow, do I need to reteach this whole lesson differently because nobody got it? Or do I need to pull Lucretia because Lucretia's still struggling, but the rest of my students are ready to move on? The same is true of our quick checks. They have real-time data. Those are a little less frequent. They're not daily. And then that leads to our district curriculum assessments, which are given at the end of each unit or module. The district curriculum assessments are written by our curriculum coordinators. They study the STAR test. There are companies, resources that we have. One of them is called Lead Forward. They give us reports of how many times a certain skill is tested on the STAR test over the last several years. Since the STAR test has been in existence, it tells us how it was tested. And so our curriculum coordinators study those documents to create their assessments to make it as aligned to STAR as possible. These assessments are given periodically. There's not a set time. That's why they're not on the calendar that you have, because they are kind of all over the place. And the reason for that is because it's dependent on the length of the unit. And the length of the unit is determined by our curriculum resources, like Bluebonnet. We may have a module that's 10 days and the next one is 15 days. So those assessments are given at the end of each unit. The data from these assessments is used to determine students that need reteaching, intervention, how to create those groups, which students struggle in this particular area but are fine in other areas, and group those students for that intervention. Excuse me. The big last type of test that's on our calendar that you will see is our summative assessments. Our summative assessment is, for us, our STAR test. It is a comprehensive assessment that is designed to evaluate learning for the whole year. It's at the end of an instructional period. And it compares against a set standard. TEA sets those standards. They set the criteria for a raw score for the approaches grade level, performance level, the meets grade level, performance level, and the master's grade level, performance level. And each of those are different depending on the grade and the subject area. So those vary across the board. The next thing I would like to share is what we do. I say we, my new coordinator of data and assessment started about a week ago, and so he has jumped in, rolled his sleeves up, and we have hit the ground running. Some of the things that we do is to help school leaders and teachers understand the data from all of these types of assessments and how to use that to make instructional decisions. We collaborate with all of the departments in the curriculum and instruction team to assist in helping with that, making those instructional decisions, whether that's intervention, whether that's reteaching or acceleration for those students that got it. How do we help those students as well? We provide data analysis to the teaching and learning team following each district curriculum assessment. The data that we provide shows each campus's performance at approaches, meets, and master's level. We also identify teachers who may need some extra support, so the curriculum coordinators are available to immediately go out and support those teachers. And we identify the lowest student expectations from that test so that the curriculum coordinators then take those lowest SEs and are able to put them back into the pacing for the next unit. So if it was a low area, they're putting it right back in to start reteaching and assess it again on the next district assessment. We monitor data for student groups who are underperforming. As Dr. Goree mentioned earlier, testing is a game. It's a numbers game. And each of our domains that we look at for state and federal accountability looks at different student groups, and different student groups count for some and don't count for others, or they count more times for different ones. And so I monitor very closely each of our DCAs, how those different student groups are performing. We also assist campus leaders in understanding the federal and state accountability systems, and again, that goes back into those student groups, helping identify which of those students are going to have the most impact on their campus ratings, how to target those students that are 1 to 2 points away from passing, 1 to 2 points away from meets and masters, because we get more points for meets and masters than we do for passing. So we look at all of those. It's different for a kid to know I'm 2 points away versus I'm 30 points away. So when you can tell a kid you only missed it by 2, they put forth a little more effort to try to do that. So we're helping the campuses identify those students who just need a little more effort to get to that next level. Additionally, we support principals with a 1-page document summary of multiple data points, so they have that at their fingertips. That includes their last year STAR data, their current iReady data, and also the growth targets for their student, knowing which students need to grow and by how many points they need to grow to meet their target. And lastly, I'm excited to help create a data-driven culture of continuous improvement. I believe, I'm a numbers person, but I believe every number tells a story. And every number has a face, and it has a mama and daddy at home that want the best for that student. And I'm excited to help support that.
Thank you very much. And I'll just say, almost all of this is new, and especially the focus and the intentionality around the focus. Ms. Newton has worked very closely with our new deputy chiefs of schools as they've helped the principals to identify those target groups of kids and making sure that we know those kids that quite frankly count 2 and 3 times because of different situations and how we can help them to grow as much as we can. Any questions on this section?
When it's determined by the teacher that 1 or 2 students need routine or intervention, well, the next day, does she or he teach the entire class the same thing, or does the have something other for the students who got it the day before, or are they all retaught?
They're not all retaught. If they achieve that and mastered that concept, the next day the teacher has the opportunity built into that lesson cycle to pull small groups and to provide those small groups what they need at that time.
When that teacher's with the small groups, then what are the other students doing?
They're working on independent work that's aligned to the lesson.
Okay.
Because that small,
For the benefit of the coach, in the next section, we're gonna talk about win time, which is built into our actual day, and that's actually where that's happening, when the students are at win time. It's exactly what she described, but at win time, you can pull those students and give them that specific instruction, which is also a game changer, and that's one thing that the district, that we have had a strong model of in our district, but we've definitely done some things to improve that.
Thank you.
yes.
I have another question.
Trustee.
So, in looking at the assessments calendar, I guess if there is, there are like several dates, listed on this calendar, so we're assessing on all of these dates?
The different tests do have different dates. Again, for like the iReady and MAP testing, those are giving beginning of the year. There's a 2-week window at the beginning of the school year, 2-week in January, and 2-week at the end of the year.
I just went back to this slide, and you want to just kind of speak through, let's go to the top line. We talked about the beginning, the middle, and the end, so the beginning, you want to just kind of go through just roughly when those are given.
Again, the iReadies and MAP are given at the same time. They're given the first 2 weeks at the beginning of the school year, 2 weeks right in January, and 2 weeks at the end of the year. A lot of the ones you see on here are diagnostic. The CLI is a diagnostic for our pre-K students. And so again, it's given September, January, and April to May. Formative assessments, as I said, those are many all over the place. They're given in class. There is on the calendar a link for teachers to access when those are given. Plus, we send out calendar invitations to all the principals and leaders so that they're aware of when those are being given. And then the star dates are near the bottom. The EOC, you'll see there's some coming up in December. Those are our retest students that need to retest because they were not successful and need to retest for graduation. So those dates are listed when we give those in December. And then in April is when we give all of our 3rd through high school tests.
And these are only assessments that were given.
Yes. Did I answer your question?
Well, yes,
Okay.
yes, you did. We often hear that, the students are testing, on the regular, and it's much more than what's listed here. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, the section that a lot of people have been waiting for, like Coach, is our intervention section. I'm going to invite Dr. Washington to come, and she's going to talk about what does intervention look like. And one thing I'll stress is that we believe in every child being taught on grade level, but we know that many of our babies do not come to us on grade level. So there has to be a plan to fill in the gaps. While we teach you on grade level, we're not going to lower that expectation, but how do we not close the gap, but how do we bring you up to where you should be performing? And Dr. Washington's going to speak on that.
Good evening, President Colton, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Gorey. Earlier you heard from Teaching and Learning about Tier 1 instruction, what it is, and what it looks like in the classroom. Then assessment shared how we measure whether students are mastering Tier 1 content. Now I'd like to talk about what happens next. What do we do for students who have not yet mastered the content? And just importantly, what do we do for those who have? So I'm hoping to be able to answer some of your questions. Before I begin, let me give you a brief overview of WIN time. WIN is an acronym that stands for, there we go. WIN is an acronym that stands for What I Need. It is a dedicated block time within the instructional day designed to provide students with targeted supports based on their individual learning needs. The purpose of WIN time is to ensure that every student whether they need intervention, reinforcement, or enrichment, receives focused instruction aligned to their specific goals. In other words, win time is for all students, not just for those who struggle. During win time, students are grouped according to their performance and areas of need. For some, that may mean building foundational skills or revisiting essential standards, which is what we're asking, how do we spiral that back in? For others, it may mean enrichment opportunities that challenge them to go further. At its core, win time is about equity, making sure every student gets the just right level of support. To make this possible, we rely on strong data practices. As Ms. Newton shared earlier, we use a variety of assessments in our district. iReady and MAP serve as our diagnostic assessment, and we combine that information with district common assessment and classroom performance to guide student grouping. This year, we also introduced student data trackers to monitor progress more closely. In upcoming professional learning sessions with iReady, teacher teams will review TEKS and learn how to select standard mastery assessment that align with high priority standards. With this training, teachers will be better prepared to adjust instruction and respond directly to student needs. One of our goals this year is to ensure that all interventions fully support the mastery of Tier 1 content. Of course, the success of win time also depends on supporting our campuses. Staff are receiving professional development not only on the win time framework, but also on how to use small group resources such as iReady Teacher Toolbox and tools for instruction, along with training in effective data analysis. This year, we've strengthened our partnership with iReady and Sustain Ed to ensure teachers are well-equipped to implement win time with confidence. We are also committed to monitoring implementation closely. District leaders will conduct classroom walkthroughs to observe win time in action. Additionally, the intervention department will hold goal setting and frequent data review meetings with campus leadership. These meetings will help us reflect on progress, celebrate successes, and address challenges collaboratively. Now, I'd like to direct your attention to the win time framework included in your packets. Please flip to the tab labeled Interventions and go to page 4 of that document. At the top is the definition of win time and its purpose, and then is the structure of the framework. We'll begin at the top with scheduling and frequency. As mentioned before, win time is during the instructional period that the students are with us. Every campus in their master schedule has allotted 30 to 45 minutes in their master schedule for interventions. Now there, that second bullet, it says iReady usage guidance software is 30 minutes per week per subject. Now, although that is stated there, we understand that putting students on a computer is not going to move the needle. It is about what is the teacher doing in that small group. And so back to your question, the teacher will have a small group and the students will be on a personalized learning path that is geared to address their specific needs. Win time operates in a 3-week cycle, ensuring that instructional adjustments are responsive to student needs based on recent data. We have different levels of support based on the grade level. Kinder through 8th, they have a separate block time for win time, and it's outlined in the master schedule. And then high school, it is embedded in their core blocks. The grouping, again, it is a flexible grouping, meaning the students will go with other students that have specific needs, that they are homogeneous, meaning they have the same similar needs. And that will be determined by the iReady diagnostic data, iReady prerequisites, and any other data that we have available for those students. And then at the bottom, you will see the different resources that we have available for win time. For reading, K2 teachers have either Reading Horizons for English and Esperanza for Spanish, and those focus specifically on foundational skills. 2nd and 8th grade intervention teachers have 2 different resources. They have SIPs that focus on foundational skills, and then we have LLI that focus on comprehension and fluency. So again, it is very, very tailored to what is the need of those particular students. And then all students K through 8 have access to iReady software, teacher-prepared lessons, and center activities that can be used during win time. And then for math, There's a typo there. It is 2nd through 8th grade, not 3rd through 8th, so that is a little bit more inclusive. Intervention teachers have a curriculum called Do the Math that is geared towards foundational math skills. And then all students K through 8 have iReady software, teacher lessons, and center activities. At the bottom, you will see that it is continuous cycle. We start by analyzing the data and making those groups. Then we provide interventions that are geared towards what they specifically need. And then we provide opportunities for them to practice, and then we monitor their progress and change the groups as needed. This process ensures instruction remains responsive, closes learning gaps, and provides meaningful enrichment opportunities for students who are ready. In summary, Win Time gives us a structured, data-driven approach to ensure every student receives the support that they need when they need it. By systematically embedding interventions and enrichment across grade levels, we are strengthening our commitment to equity and excellence for our students. Thank you for your time. I'd like to open the floor up for questions.
Intervention teachers,
So,
is that all they do?
yes, that is the core of their work. So we have 2 intervention teachers at K-8 campuses. We have a reading intervention teacher and a math intervention teacher. And they pull the students that need the most support. And they don't only pull under Win Time. They have a schedule throughout the day where they're constantly pulling students to support them in foundational skills.
At a high level, Win Time teachers, every teacher is a Win Time teacher. Every teacher
Correct.
has a block of time in their day where we support children where they are. Whether we're looking at one of the, whether we're looking at iReady, which is a diagnostic that tells us what's wrong, or we're looking at how you're performing on a quick check, on an exit ticket, on a curriculum assessment. That's that space where the teacher has an opportunity to work with students on a more individual basis. I do think that, when I think about iReady, the thing I love about it is that, and I think it's going to help in our district, is that iReady is tied to our teacher incentive allotment. Remember, we are a pay-for-performance district, so how students grow on iReady will dictate how teachers will be fiscally rewarded. So I do believe that's going to create a sense of urgency also as we make sure that our students are progressing through iReady. I'm really excited that we kicked off our competition with a district-wide competition with a sports theme around iReady. And principals, we all kicked that off yesterday at principals meeting, so I'm really looking forward to some friendly competition among the schools as well, too, to see how the students are performing with iReady.
You did say something about basketball.
Actually, I think it was, no. I think it was football, but I'm gonna get you on the next one, okay?
I think this is all great, and the tracking, the training, the monitoring is all great. But when I look over to the principals, what I'd like to know, and I don't know if this is the right time, Madam President, to ask, but in my heart, I'm wondering, what's the biggest crutch here? Because for me, we're doing everything well by laying out the plan here, but what is sent home for the kids to have a win time? What are they doing at home? Because when my children come home, I'm always asking, where's your homework? What are we doing? Where are we being assessed at? So then, I beg to ask you is, are you getting the parent participation to help y'all? And I think that has to be asked, because I'm just like,
Right.
this is great.
Right.
We're laying it all out.
Yeah.
But are we bridging over to the parents to help?
I do think we're trying. We're doing everything we can. I do think that certainly does create a unique challenge in our district. I do think when you look at something like Win Time, what I will tell you, it's designed intentionally to all happen during the school day.
Yeah.
There are opportunities, of course, for parents to support, but I think that the design of that is really, even when you look at the technology component of some of that and how that's working within the day, that's designed more for the school day.
Yeah.
Did anyone have anything they wanted to add?
I would like to, I would like to, I don't know if this is the right time where it's in, but are parents helping? There you go.
I speak for the group. So we try not to call it homework.
Okay.
We really try to focus on family engagement.
Okay.
We have a lot of students who may not always go home to a parent who can with that homework. So one of the things I've tasked teachers with is whatever we assign needs to be purposeful, cannot be for a grade, but it's really just, again, like you're saying, a bridge between what we're doing at school and what the families can do at the house. So we just really try to focus on what we call family engagement activities.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, and we're just in a season now where we have to rely on our own we can control, and there's just so many elements of the home that we cannot control. So as we design, and it's not.
And that was what I wanted to hear, because I just wanted to hear what y'all go through. Because as we're building the system, and I hear your goals, I hear the tracking, and I hear all of this. What are y'all up against truly if we're not bridging over to the family to understand, hey, your child needs extra time on X, Y, and Z?
It's a challenge. Thank you. Any other, yes, ma'am?
So how do we handle schools where there is a very large need for one-time intervention for like?
Everybody.
Yeah, everybody, yeah.
And so that's something we stress when we come and have conversations with the principals in our data talks, is we only have 2 intervention teachers who are only able to see this particular number of students. And so it's going back to the point that Dr. Gorey made, that we are all intervention teachers. And so it's truly all hands on deck. So the intervention teacher will take a group, and then the other students will be grouped with other teachers. And so the PE teacher could be a one-time teacher. I have seen a counselor be a one-time teacher. A librarian has been a one-time teacher. And so during one-time, it's truly all hands on deck, and we are supporting the students where they are.
So for Dr. Gorey, is there a need for additional one-time teachers? Because I understand, that everybody is pitching in, but not everybody, that's not their focus, and that's not the best.
Would anyone else, before I come, would anyone else come? They come in peace.
I would like to have an additional comment. I have an additional comment. I think that iReady has great supports embedded, that for somebody like a counselor who may not be able to, know a lot of math instruction, they have a lot of resources, teacher-led lessons and tools for anybody, can pick up and be able to provide that support. So they might not have the lowest students, but they can do enrichment activities with the higher students so that the lower students can be with those who have the most capacity in that area.
And I believe that the best support comes from that teacher and really creating that space and time for that classroom teacher to support their students. But again, that is something that we're going to monitor closely, especially as we go into budget season, because we know we're going to be cutting things. And again, I think that we just got to be real intentional about what we cut and make sure that we're looking at the right things. And the interventionist it's a critical role, because the facts are that we receive more than half of our students off grade level. And how we're supporting that is going to be critical as we move forward.
And that is a change from last year to this year. Last year, not all campuses had 2 intervention teachers. And so that is something that we do have this year, and we're very fortunate to have.
Agreed. That's why we have to be very intentional.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Washington. All right, now at this time we're talking about support structures, and probably the most aggressive change that we've made as a district is how we support our principals. And I'd like to invite Ms. Hernandez as well as Dr. Wyatt to come. They both serve in the Deputy Chief of Schools role. And I've explained to the board that our goal was to really make sure that we had one conversation when it came to academic and leadership. And again, the creation of these positions have allowed us to do that. So I'm going to let them present. They'll have an opportunity to share from some of the things that they've observed in their short time in the position. But I promise you, it's been dog years because they have certainly covered a lot of ground.
Good evening, President Colton, esteemed trustees, and Superintendent Gorey. It's a pleasure to share with you all a day in the life of a Deputy Chief of School Leadership. Ms. Hernandez and I are focused on 3 priority areas. I will now turn it over to Ms. Hernandez, who will provide insight regarding our first priority.
Good evening. So our first priority is rooted in instructional support and leadership. Dr. Nix and our SOUP have charged us with dedicating 75% of our time directly on campuses, providing need-and-need coaching at the highest executive level. So we're accomplishing this in 3 ways. As you can see, number 1, we are coaching need-to-need. That is us at a campus, Byrd Middle School, coaching the principal, the administration team, along with our partnership with Teaching and Learning and Dr. Reyes' team. And we're side by side in the work almost 75% of our time during the week. We're building teacher capacity. We're providing tailored professional development. So what does that look like? What does it look like implementing a coaching cycle, providing professional development? I'd like to take you to our collaboration standard walking guiding question. That's slide 8. Slide 8. It's called tab behind the support tab, slide 8. It's called a collaboration standard guiding questions. We use this coaching guide to work side by side with principals as we walk classrooms. While we walk classrooms, we're talking before we get in the classroom, we're huddling in small groups. Not only do you see us huddling with the principal, but you see the second team with the AP. So we're also coaching the principals and the APs and bringing that whole team along so we're all talking the same language and going in classrooms. Before we enter a classroom, we sit and we chat about what's the lesson happening today. What are we gonna see in that classroom? We talk about what supports that principal or administrator has provided the teacher, the last piece of feedback. We talk about what adjustments they've made and what supports look like before we walk in a classroom, so that when we walk in the classroom, we have a lasered focus on what we're seeing. We're not just everywhere in a classroom. We're very conscientious when we go in, what we're looking for and what data we're gonna gather so that we can coach immediately on the spot. Particularly, we're also building skills like need-to-need coaching. When I say that, our principals, if we give a clue, we kind of look at each other, we have a little side clue. If we see something that needs immediate fixing, what we don't want to do is wait 45 minutes later and let that teacher teach that TEK wrong. Does that make sense? So we might give a clue in the moment and say, hey, maybe why don't we talk about engagement? Coach that teacher and we'll whisper something to the principal. And then we kind of step out and we let that principal engage with that teacher and get us back on track. So we're also doing in that moment coaching. So when we talk about moving, we're not just waiting until they're done teaching it and we saw 2 or 3 things we go in the moment, we provide that coaching in a respectful manner so they can correct it, get back on point and make sure kids are learning. And then we step outside, that principal may step back outside and we'll have a huddle, okay, what support? What does that look like next? What do you need from us as your direct coach? And what do you need from our teaching and learning department? Is that a one-on-one modeling? Can we come tomorrow? Can we come the next class period when they're off and embed some PLC support? So we're not waiting to the end of the week. We're not waiting to the end of 6 weeks. We're doing that in the moment coaching. And in my experience of turning around schools, right, I had 8 F schools. We went from Fs to Bs in a year. And the number one reason why we did that, my principals will tell you that I've coached, is that in the moment coaching. We're not waiting. We're doing it right there and then, and we're doing it in a manner that all of us feel comfortable. In fact, I had one of my principals tell me last week, Hernandez, I appreciate you. We saw it, you stepped out, you let me handle it, we got that teacher back on track, and kids were learning. And that's exciting when you see it self-correct in the classroom in that moment, and you see the light bulbs go on. And then we went back in before we left, and they were right on track. And it felt really good to know we didn't have to wait, and that teacher was like, so today I was in that same classroom, and they're like, Ms. Hernandez, I got my aggressive monitoring. And so he was showing me his chart because that was the feedback he got last time, and we saw it 3 days later again. So that was super exciting. I wanted to give a really specific example of what that looks like. And then we do some hallway talking, and then we do some debriefing. So they get some individual feedback. We'll dismiss everybody, and then the principal and I and April and her principals will go back in and give that unique feedback that needs to happen. So that's one of the things we do. And then we do professional development. And as you can see, we tailored. So just the last 10 days, or 12 days, I think, that we've been on the job, our principals have got in-depth CIP training. We are not copying and pasting this. We went point by point, strategy by strategy. Did this work last year? If it did, show us the data. If it didn't work, let's think of new ways to make sure we're reaching kids. So they got in-depth. They also got in-depth professional development around coaching and feedback. We spent about 4 hours yesterday really honing in on how do we give need coaching. And that was Dr. Nix, myself, Dr. Wyatt, sitting in a round circle, having all the principals watch us. We're coaching, they're watching, I'm getting feedback, and I'm showing them, okay, so if my coach is giving me feedback, this is what I need to do, and then we're practicing again. And every principal got to experience that success yesterday. They got a coach, they got to be the teacher, they got to hear what the principal was telling the teacher, they got to be the teacher, they hear the feedback, and they got to give each other constructive feedback. So that's the kind of work that's going to move our campuses this year. And then the last thing, I'm really excited, we also did, we're doing a lot of work on leveraging how we tier teachers. There's a lot of conversations, like support may look different for a new teacher who doesn't have a certification versus a teacher who's experienced. So we're talking about how we tier teachers and how we support each of those teachers at where they come in. So that's just exciting work. Now I would like to lend it over to my partner, Dr. Wyatt, while she explains priority 2.
Our second priority is grounded in leadership and accountability. We are working in close collaboration with the teaching and learning and assessment and accountability departments to align campus execution with the board's goals of achieving TEA ratings of C or higher across all campuses, while also strengthening early literacy and college, career, and military readiness outcomes. As a deputy chief, this work is supported through on-site coaching that ensures principals are effectively leading instruction, developing their teachers, and promoting positive school culture that drives student success. Our on-site coaching is guided as a result of our one-on-one meetings we have had with every principal to create clear goals for the diagnostic tests, such as iReady and MAP, daily classwork, and STAR accountability areas for increased ratings. Now, I must add, we're being very reflective with our principals, and it has been a rewarding experience. For example, we provide them with an instructional leader self-reflection form, and the relational capacity that has been developed has been also rewarding for us as deputy chiefs. They've been vulnerable, they've been transparent, and they have expressed what they need. We also hold them accountable in the area of the leadership cycle. Now, I must share a short story with you. I had the opportunity, I'm going to refer to Kennemer because she talked about that 6th grade pep rally, but I want to tell you how that came about. I had an opportunity to meet with Ms. Thomas. I said, hey, Ms. Thomas, I was looking at the data, and I noticed this many 6th graders did not meet their target score. She sat there, she thought about it, and she said, I'm on it. A day later, I received a call. Hey, Dr. White, are you busy? I'm just leaving the school. What's going on? I'm about to meet with these 6th graders. Yes, ma'am, I'm on my way. All of those 6th graders were in the gym, but I will tell you, it was not a fluffy meeting. She had the screen, and it had 6th grade data, and she spoke specifically to it. I then challenged Ms. Thompson. She like, oh, boy. I challenged Ms. Thompson. I said, you know what? You think y'all can be in the top 10? She said, oh, no. We will be in the top 5. So we talked to the students. I told them to call me Dr. Top 5. And then as I was leaving out, one young lady looked at me and said, "Ma'am, we will be in the top 3. I said, "Yes." So to see that reflection in action with the level of accountability, I must say, it's working. From my experience in leading schools and from the district level, the approach to setting student achievement goals is effective when there is a depth of every student's performance from the previous year to monitor and measure growth. All campus principals have completed a STAR data profile, which is page number 9. To reflect on last year's performance. We have also closely looked at Domain 3 of STAR accountability to make certain we have a measurement plan of how we are closing the gaps for all student populations. Once again, it's story time. I met with the principal and I stated to the principal, according to the expectations of TEA, at least 32 of your students must get meets. So with that said, let's pull this. All right, we got 20. All right, and then we got 6. Wait, we're missing 6. You're right, Dr. White. We surely are. What's the plan of action? All right, this is what we're gonna do. It is such a fulfilling feeling to know that we're holding them accountable, but it's an enjoyable experience of accountability because they wanna see all students win. Through the lens of a deputy chief, we consistently execute accountability of monitoring and measurement through regular check-ins, coaching, and feedback through research-based protocols, rubrics, and collaborative conversations. Might I add, our principals have been reflective, responsive, and understood our roles as their collaborative accountability partner to increase student achievement. Finally, we are committed to real-time monitoring of student performance metrics to embrace the sense of urgency. It must occur to improve student achievement. Our principal data dashboard, the data analysis reports from Ms. Newton, and the communication from the teaching and learning coordinators provide the foundation of consistent visits to campuses to collaborate with principals to create actionable plans with specificity of the teacher, the learning objective, and again, ensuring our students are growing academically. As deputy chiefs of school leadership, our charge of leading accountability, it is clear, to equip leaders, elevate learning, and ensure every student thrives. We will now end it with Ms. Hernandez for our third priority.
Our third priority is anchored in turnaround best practices with a relentless focus on measurable student outcomes. Dr. Wyatt said it perfectly. Principals are accountable for the success of every student on their campus, and we've made that happen in the 12 days already. We've identified every student that did not meet approaches, METs, or masters, and we have set goals. We're super excited. As a leader, again, as leaders who've turned around campuses, we are really focused on scaling research-based practices across our campuses. We are leveraging Sustain Ed, our partner, and they're really our thought partner. Sustain Ed is going into our campuses and they are providing specific protocols to support the learning in the PLCs. And this PLC is their time where they meet by subject, by grade level, where they unpack the curriculum. That's where the magic happens. I'm gonna say that is, if you haven't been a PLC, that is where the magic happens. It's where we unpack the curriculum. It's where we decide what we're gonna teach, how we're gonna teach it, what kids are gonna walk away and show us that they've demonstrated the learning. So if you would turn to slide 11 and 12, it has our lesson internalization protocol. And this is really going to be a high leverage move for us because we have new curriculum. And what we need to do is unpack it. We need to be a thought partner with our teachers and meet them at ground level. Wherever they're coming in, we have to give them something in hand that says, okay, Let's understand the purpose of the lesson today. What should we be teaching today? What are those high-level objectives that we want kids to be able to do? Compare and contrast, make inferencing. Let's identify that TEK as a group. Then let's unpack the activities. Which ones are going to get us the best bang? Right? This is what the data says. So we're going to pick the best lesson as a team, and then we're going to work that lesson together, right? How do you do compare and contrast? Are we going to use a Venn diagram today? And they're going to model, unpack that. They're even going to rehearse, right? So some teachers might be, I don't know how to teach that. Let me practice. So they practice how to teach it. We have our coaches that are in there. They have instructional coaches in there. They have curriculum coordinators in there. We're in there. The principal's in there. We're unpacking it together so that when we deliver tier 1 instruction. If we get tier 1 instruction right, intervention is important, but if we can deliver it, first go around and we can do that right and nail that about 85%, then everything else we have is right in place with it. Makes sense? And so we are giving them this deep dive, and there's a protocol to follow. So that's really one thing that we're doing that's really high leverage. Another thing that we're doing, we're monitoring growth in real time. Like I spoke to you earlier, we have a principal dashboard in which we analyze everything. We want to do everything with intentionality. We want to be intentional how we assign groups, how we do our win time, what kids do we pull win time, when do we pull in win time. We want to have the same process. So if you go to all 17 of our campuses, the trackers look the same, because we want to make sure everyone gets that quality, high leverage research best practice. The school improvement, that might look a tiny bit different. That's just because we have certain flags with accountability that we must hit. So we definitely want to be really intentional. For example, if we missed it in math, that just like Dr. Wyatt said, our principal can tell you the exact kids they missed it with, what those exact kids need, and then a little sum, because we want to go a little over, but in real-time data. Lastly, we're really intentional with principals to set ambitious goals in each of those domains. In student achievement, which is reading, math, science, and social studies, because if they're in middle school and high school, they have science and social studies, and elementary reading, math, and science. We're also looking at growth measures. For example, if you walk Alexander Elementary and you walk her PLC, she has a growth measure for every child, not just their achievement measure, but if they grow 1 year, right? Because maybe not all our babies are going to go from did not meets to meets. We want them. We're planning for it. But they also have a growth measure. So maybe I don't need an 80, but if I go from an 18 to a 60, I'm going to get that point still, right? So we're also teaching kids about growth and working towards that finish line. Everyone's going to get there, but everyone's starting point just looks a little bit different, and making sure everyone understands to the student level. A student can say, my growth is this, right? And we want them to see success. So when we talk about every kid, when we talk about every student in Duncanville, we mean coaching side by side with principals so that they know every child's starting point. They know every child's progress path to success. The child knows his or her path to success. And we are then not only teaching, helping the principals to figure that out. Principals are helping teachers to figure out, and then teachers are helping students. And then we're also going to wrap our parents. You mentioned earlier about parents. We're going to start having those parent meetings, right? We're getting straight first, us as a team. We're going to know it inside out, and then we're going to bring those parents in, and we're going to have a student tracker to go with parents so that as a parent, you can know, hey, this is where I'm at with my beginning of the year. This is where I'm at the middle of the year. This is where I'm at the end. And then what can I do a parent? So you'll see a lot of that coming from the deputy chiefs later. We're getting our school straight, and then we're going to engage those parents so they're side by side with us. And then last, we are ensuring our principals have the tool to reach each child so that we can write a success story at the end of the year. Every child can step up and tell their story. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Really excited about the work that they're doing and the leadership on the campus. Any questions for our deputy chiefs of schools?
I do want to compliment the team. They're just quiet. I'm just saying that out loud because it's true. And do y'all have a story to share about how that was working for y'all?
That's the burger picture.
Yeah.
You said you was
It went so well. Mr. Davis?
Am I speaking? So I would say for us, it was a good opportunity to kind of calibrate. When you hear all different voices, different lenses, you always see different things. So everybody brings something different to the table, so they get those expertises. But at the end of the day, it's all about how do we align ourselves to ensure that we're providing those teachers with what they need to ultimately give the students what they need.
Yeah, the practice of coming out in the hall and then you go back in.
So you go in, when you come out, you have a conversation before you can go in. So what is it that you're hoping to see?
Yeah.
And then you go in, hopefully you see what you thought you were gonna see. If you don't, then when you come out, that's a part of the conversation. So you always talk about what did we see, what were the highlights or the glows, what are some areas that need adjustments. And then again, if there's something in the moment that needs to be adjusted, definitely having that conversation. Sometimes I've been in there where it's, everybody walks off and I kind of go sneak back in real quick, hey, make sure you fix, have a brief conversation with that teacher.
Yeah.
I'll say for the bird, the teachers are hungry to know what was stated, so they'll come and be like, Ms. Davis, what they say? What was said when y'all walked in there, what did everybody see? And so that's always a true telling sign of great things happening.
And one thing I'll say is that, and I thank the deputy chiefs because of the in the moment part of that is new. And we've done it before, but that saying, okay, now I'm gonna go right back in. I'm not gonna wait 45 minutes. Remember when she first started, I'm like, that's not that long. But it is long when you think about there could be 2 or 3 other classes that we could help by going right back in. So that is how intentional and quick the cycle is.
I would love Dr. Crosby. Dr. Jones, we had a great moment this morning. You want to share that moment? Really, I was excited. Like the teacher had her high stuff. It was super exciting.
Me too, I want to hear.
Well, last week, I think, yes, it was last week, we had the first visit, and I took her to a tier 3 teacher, which is the teacher who's brand new to the district, brand new to teaching, uncertified. So we went in, and it looked like tier 3 instruction. Yes, it looked like a tier 3 instruction, and we gave the teacher some feedback on that day. So today, ironically, I brought her back to that same teacher.
And we were with our region visitors.
Yes, we had our school improvement person from Region 10 was with us. So before we went in, I was able to tell her what he was going to be teaching, and I was right.
You were on it.
So
it was a great visit.
We went in, and the teacher took all the feedback that we had given him, because he's been on my coaching cycle. And it looked so good. Now, it wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
But
it was 1,000 times better.
Yes. He made all the improvements that we made, that we suggested to him, and he went above and beyond to begin to implement some strategies of what we call aggressive monitoring, where when the kids are working independently, the teacher is walking around looking for specific things to make sure that the child is on track with mastering the learning. So it wasn't perfect. But he tried, he implemented, and I don't know if you saw, but he kept going.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. The kids were super excited.
Sure. And that's what I want to hear more of is that as they're sharing, if they're excited, y'all have to be excited.
Yeah.
So I would like to hear more of those stories, so that's great. I love it. So good.
Mr. Cole had one.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
Okay.
I apologize, and just to your point, I want to share for our Algebra 1 team, of course, that's a needy area, on our campus, and I have a brand new set of 8 Algebra 1 teachers. So we're kind of tasked with those in-the-moment coaching. So everybody's point is what we go through in our process is when we have calibration calls with Dr. Nix and even Dr. Corey also participating, we're going and giving on-the-spot, in-the-moment coaching as well. As we're talking to the kids, hey, what are you learning from them? What are you expected to learn? And then after the 10 to 15 minute observation, we walk out, we speak, we calibrate, and we come back in and we provide immediate action steps. And the beautiful thing about us, we can literally go back the next year to see if they're implementing. So, I appreciate, the support that I get every day, and now we're also pushing into the PLCs and calibrating with those teachers as well. So if we all see a systemic situation, whether it's aggressive monitoring, we can address it there as a team and talk about next steps.
Right, and one thing I'll add, Ms. Fahey, if I can quickly, is that, and I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about you in my last section, but, we're teaching every child every day. We've stressed that, every child every day. But this is also a game, and we understand that we have 4,500 students at that high school. That high school has to perform, and that's why I've spent time, you and I have walked we've done walked several times this year, and made some in-the-moment changes too, because we, just making sure from my seat that I know what's gonna count a lot in this district performance score. And those are those areas that we're playing this game a whole lot smarter than we have before. Trustee Payne.
So is there a schedule whereby the principals know what day you'll be there, and then their teachers know what day you'll be there?
No, ma'am, and I will tell you why.
Oh, surprise, surprise.
Yes.
So, well, it's half and half.
Yes, yeah, it's
It is half and half. So the first time, so there are times where we tell them we're coming. So we want to do so the coaching cycle looks like this. There's times
Yes.
we're going to tell you, hey, we're coming. Let's model what we want to see. And then we're going to do an unannounced visit to see if we see what we see.
I love that.
Yes.
I was telling Dr. Dory the other day, I knew a teacher, you know him too, he's retired now, thank the Lord. He practiced and did the same teaching 3 days in a row, waiting for the evaluation. Which I called him a bad name. And told him what he was doing to those kids. That's not fair to the kids, to wait for that evaluation to start. So I surprise attack. I guess that's what it is, but I kind of like that.
Yes, ma'am, and just to speak to your point, just as Ms. Hernandez said, it's definitely balanced. For example, next week, there are some focus areas in the district, and we already have it set. We're gonna go to a particular campus, look at particular grade levels, but then there's an opportunity, because they know we're in the trenches with them. I can call a principal and say, hey, I got an extra hour on hand. I want to stop by, and I want to see, as she was saying, that teacher. So that's one part that's really exciting. Board, I do have one more thing I would like to share, and Dr. Goree, I must. So as you can see, we are having so much fun with what we're doing. And just know, we are excited to have every student on board. At Mr. Colbert and Dr. Stats, we're gonna have to figure out what this looks like for high school. But one of the things that we are charging principals with is making sure that there's evidence of student learning in the classroom. And we also want to charge students with that same approach to say, hey, show what you know. So as a result, we've even come up with a fun song that we are going to have.
I'm not going to make us sing that.
Yeah, that all the students are going to be singing in Duncanville ISD. Show what you know, show what you know, show what you know. Hey, look at you. Y'all, we are excited to show what we know to increase student achievement. Thank you.
They're really singing the bride.
We got really amazing principals. They are humble, and they are hungry, and we're gonna go get it. Amazing, talented principals.
All right. Well, I'm glad that Dr. Nix gets to follow me. Dr. Nix is
We got no show.
He's gonna dance. So Dr. Nix is gonna come back, and of course, I'd be remiss too, while we're thanking you, I do have to thank three people who have been really fighting with me as I tried probably since May to figure this thing out, and they're the Dr. Nix, of course, Mr. Graham, and Ms. Pam Brown. If these guys, I asked them to do some crazy stuff, crazy hours of the night, and about the next day I get it, because we've got to figure this thing out, okay? We got to. I'm not going to let Dr. Nix speak, because Dr. Nix has been charged with leading not only the academic side of the house, but also the leadership side. So I'll let him come and speak a little bit on some of those implementations, and then I will come pretty quickly, and we're almost ready to wrap up.
Board, I hope you don't mind that I'm presenting behind the podium. I know this is being recorded, so I want to make sure that I'm speaking to the mic for the audio purposes. And I do also want to share that as the Deputy Chief of Schools were practicing that song yesterday and they were making me listen to it, I was just trying to encourage them because they were so excited about it, but they've done a great job. They had a lot of passion. But at least Ms. Hernandez, she said, listen, I'm tone deaf. I said, I know. Yeah, I know. I said, but no, she got it. Yes, sir. President Colton, members of the board, of course, Dr. Goree, it is my absolute pleasure to just kind of share with you everything that you've heard this evening, from curriculum and pacing, from our intervention to our data. The goal is, how do we bring all of this together? Ms. McNeely, how do we bring all this together to make sure that, and Trustee Veracruz, you hit it on the head, all the stuff that we're doing, it doesn't matter if we're not measuring it and if we're not ensuring that it's happening. We can have the best systems in the world, we can have the best intentions in the world, but if we don't have a process in place to make sure that it's happening, then we're going to continue to get what we get. So the thing I'm most excited about is you see the team that we have this year. You see the synergy, you see the alignment. So what you heard from the Deputy Chief of Schools is no longer silos. So for an example, there are no silos in CNI. I'm gonna repeat that. There are no silos in CNI anymore. So when the deputy chiefs are working with the campus principals, teaching and learning is right there with them. SPED is right there with them. Data and assessment is right there with them. We're making decisions collectively and we're supporting collectively. So no longer is there one team doing something that another team is not aware of or doesn't know how to support the work. So research says there's two ways, board, to improve student achievement. Two ways. Number one, you improve the quality of Tier 1 instruction with teachers. Number two, you improve the quality of instructional leaders. So everything that you have heard thus far has been aimed at those two things: improving the quality of Tier 1 instruction and improving the quality of our instructional leaders. So what I would like to do is walk you through, Coach, to your point, how at the district level are we monitoring all the stuff that we talked about today? Not only how we're monitoring it, but how are we measuring it and what are we doing with it? Some districts call them fidelity walks, but you have heard them called calibration walks, and that's what we've been referring to today. And the purpose of those calibration walks is just that. It's to make sure that we are monitoring, we are measuring, we're tracking, we are making adjustments to the things that we expect. And in these calibration walks, here are the things that we're looking for. Number one, the use of high quality instructional material. I hate to say it, I really do. And I wish that we were 100% there. But we still have some teachers that feel like they can use what they want to use. And these principals are doing a phenomenal job of setting the tone on those campuses. If you guys can remember, I spoke at the beginning of the year about Dr. Goree going in a couple of days into the school year and teachers using something that wasn't in the curriculum. Well, we can't do that. We have to use highly qualified instructional material as outlined by the state. We have curriculum and we have to make sure we're using that curriculum. And the principals are doing a great job of making sure that that's happening on the campuses. But not only should we be using that curriculum, we have to make sure that the instruction is aligned to the standard of that curriculum. Meaning, if the curriculum is saying, or the standard is saying the students are supposed to be analyzing, then when we go into that classroom, although they may be using curriculum, are they teaching to the level of the standard? So if students are supposed to be analyzing, are they demonstrating that students are analyzing? And sometimes students can identify, great, but that's not the level of the standard. So they're teaching the curriculum, but may not be teaching it to the level of the standard. Well, we have to monitor that. We've got to track that. We've got to coach that. We have to make sure that we level that instruction up to get those kids thinking at the level of the standard. So that's what it means when it says alignment to the TEKS. Student engagement. When we're walking classrooms, we want to make sure students are engaged in the learning. How do we know that they're learning? How do we know that they're demonstrating that learning? That's what we're looking for. Academic discourse, meaning, and of course the research shows, the more students are talking about, the more students are doing the work. You know, when the teacher's up and doing all the teaching, there's a little learning going on, right? So we have to make sure that those students are engaged in discourse, talking about what they're learning, demonstrating that learning. And as we all know what the research says about writing, I was listening to something the other day about how keyboarding is good, but there's no comparison to what actual writing does to connecting information to the brain. We have to make sure that our students are writing. Because of the extended constructive responses on STAR, what that means is students are going to be assessed, and not only assessed, they're going to be assessed with their writing of the information. So that's what we're looking for. These are the 5 things that we're looking for when we're doing these walks. What we do with these walks, some of the things that have shifted. You know, last year, we would send a group of individuals to a campus, and there may be 8 or 10. Well, you know, that's a lot of people to go into a classroom. And that can be very disruptive when you have that many people in a classroom. One of the things that we did this summer was we brought in a group of principals to give us feedback on our calibration walks. What needs to be improved? How could we do this better? How could we use this information to better support you? What are some things that need to be adjusted? And we took that information and we created the Tier 1 observation tracker, which you see, or the tool, I'm sorry, which you see as number 13 under the section that says instructional leadership implementation. This is the tool that we are using as we are going on walks, as we are at the district level, looking at district level trends. What are we seeing in 3rd grade at the district level? What are we seeing in math at the district level? What are we seeing at this particular campus at the campus level? And what we do, what's different than last year, we didn't have a rubric, we didn't have a score. You know, we were just kind of going in and looking at things and talking about it. But Coach knows if you don't have a score, it's kind of hard to tell where you are in the progression of where we need to be. And so we developed this rubric, and as you heard Mr. Ross say today, one of the things he was proud of, he said, I know where I stand. I believe he said that he scored a 3 in the majority of these areas. Well, that means he is clear about where he is, but he's not at a 4. So that means we know exactly what he needs to do to grow. Our job is to support him with that, but we're going to be tracking that. And we track that at the district level. Then once all of the calibration walks are finished, we at the district level meet about every single campus. We meet about all of our trends. What are we seeing? Why are we continuing to see this when we provided the training, when we provided the support? Why are we continuing to see this particular trend here? And then what support is needed for those particular schools? And that's how we look at tiering our campuses each 9 weeks. It's a fluid process because we have to know where we are. I hope the trend that you heard today, the main difference between last year and this year is number 1, urgency, not waiting. And a big piece of that is how we're using our data. So from students knowing where they are to teachers knowing where they are, we're talking daily, to principals tracking and knowing where they are, to coordinators knowing where they are. For an example, one of the things that I have the coordinators doing, and just to be clear about who coordinators are, for an example, let's say we have a math coordinator. The math coordinator's job is to support with curriculum, but also support the campuses with those math teachers, with that curriculum piece, with that coaching them on the curriculum in the PLCs. One of the things I have them doing this year is the moment that, not DCAs, not district common assessments. President Colton, to your point earlier about the assessment schedule that Ms. Newton had, that assessment schedule is basically for the state and for the district assessments. What you don't see on there are the campus assessments. because we can't wait for the district assessments, and we can't wait for middle year. We can't wait for that. So we have to know daily what's happening through our exit tickets, through our quick checks, through our assessments on the campus. And I expect those coordinators to know that data and to be communicating with the principals. Every principal gets emails about here's where the data is we're tracking at the district level. Here are your 3 lowest teachers. Here are recommendations for how to support those teachers. And if you need support, here we are to add support. And here's when we will be there to add that support. That way, when we talk about accountability, we're providing them with everything they need to know what to do. The deputies then are in charge to make sure they do it. But we don't have a problem with our principals because they're hungry about wanting to do that. And so we're tracking that data at every level. You've heard today the term data literacy. It's simple. It's simple. We just need to know what the data is for, how to use it, and how we know it's being affected. That's data literacy. One thing with assessments, every assessment is not the same. Assessments are assessing different things. iReady is different. It's a different assessment than a DCA. A DCA is a different assessment than a benchmark. You do different things with it. So making sure that the principals and the coordinators and the teachers and students know what assessment am I taking, what data do I need, and what do I do with this data. I am so excited because we have the team now to train and to help and to teach that and to walk side by side with that. And then lastly, building capacity. And this is what I'm so excited about that you kept hearing all day. Ownership at every single level. Students owning their data. Teachers owning their data. When I go to Mr. Colbert, and I thought he was going to say this, when I said, where are we today with this particular teacher? Well, Mr. Colbert has a system in place where he tracks daily where students are. Daily in algebra, daily in biology, daily. He has a system where he tracks weekly. So when we meet with him, he's able to talk to me specifically about where to deploy that support. And we hate to say things like this, but there are teachers who we've already identified who are on plans of support. And that doesn't mean that they're bad teachers. That doesn't mean that they're targeted for being fired. That means that they're in need of support. And we've identified them, and we have a plan to support them with a deadline of what that looks like. So that's what we mean when we say build capacity. The deputy chiefs and myself, now I would like to add myself to this, but I couldn't hang with them because at about 10 o'clock, I got to go home. I got kids, right? But they're planning for and sitting up there till 12 and 1 o'clock, planning for the development of our principals. And making sure that we are training them. And then their job is to hold them accountable for the training. So as we look at our instructional implementation and that guide that you see as we go through instruction, I now want to shift your attention, board, to just the structure of C&I, because that's what we have been asked to kind of present on. And but what I want to point your attention to is, as we engage in the work, it's important that we note that this is only about 3 weeks, board. 3 weeks. So this is a quick shift in what we've had to do to kind of reorganize some things. You see a graph there that is declining, and I want to take just a moment to outline what this graph is. You see 2018 and 2019, that's pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, we had, and I'm going to throw some numbers out here, we had approximately 12,600 students in our district. And of all of the staff that we had in our district, the C&I department made up 8.5% of the entire staff of our district, okay? After COVID, 21-22, we had roughly 11,700 students. And the C&I department, we went from 143 people in the department to 134. So the C&I department then made up about 8% of the total staff. So although we were losing kids, we were also losing individuals in the C&I department. But as you look currently Currently, we have about, as of today, we have enrolled about 11,020 students in our district. Of all the staff in Duncanville, the C&I department makes up about less than 6% of the total staff in our district. So we have gone from 143 individuals in the C&I department pre-COVID to about 100 after COVID. Now, the reason that's important, that's about a 30% reduction in the department. The reason that's important is because Dr. Reed's been very clear. It's not about reducing the department. It's about being very intentional about who we have in the department, where they sit in the seats, and how effective they're being in the department. And it's very important that we scrutinize every position when they leave. Does it need to be replaced? Does that position need to be replaced? What's the consequence of not replacing that? And what's the impact on student learning and support? So as we look at our department, because it's a large department, if you'll shift to the document number 16, it's the organizational chart in your packet. That's the C&I organization. It's so small. It's hard to get all of that information on the screen, so I didn't even try because it's hard to read. But board, I want to just walk you through the different branches of how that looks in C&I. So as you see that first branch there, it says Erica Reyes. Erica Reyes is our Executive Director of Teaching and Learning. And as you see all the things that fall under her, you see that she has a Director of Teaching and Learning, that's Mr. Flint, and he is over those direct curriculum support department that supports curriculum and teaching and learning. He's also over advanced academics. We used to have 3 GATE specialists. We're down to 1 now, and GATE stands for gifted and talented. So as we look at all of the things that impact instruction, curriculum, supports, intervention, all of that falls under the executive director, Erica Reyes. We've lost several directors in that department, but we're still able to realign that work and get the things done. As we shift over, you see we've picked up 2 deputy chief of schools. Both of those, we've been very intentional with the schools that they support. Board, we will be losing an executive director, which means that I have the opportunity to pick up 2 departments there, which is that they supervise, which is the Director of CTE, CCMR, and Innovation, as well as the Director of Assessment and Accountability. So I will now directly supervise assessment and accountability, as well as CCMR, CTE. And that's so important because CCMR is such a huge percentage of our accountability, as well as opportunities for students. And then as you see the final shift, the Executive Director of Special Education, Dr. Jared, and everything that falls there. Board, you may see a lot of names there. This looks like a lot of diagnosticians or a lot of speech language pathologists. Board, we have to have those positions. Those positions are required by the state. We have students with special needs. We have students that have to go to ARD meetings and things of that nature. We have to have those diagnosticians. We have to have those LSSPs. We have to have those speech pathologists. We have to have much of what's under SPED. And board, as you well know, there's something called MOE, which is maintenance and effort. We have to spend a required amount of funding on special education personnel. I think it's important to note, board, we talked about losing enrollment since before COVID, but the thing that's interesting, the one area where our students continue to grow in Duncanville, even though we've lost, student enrollment, our special ed numbers have continued to grow in this district. And so from pre-COVID to now, our number of special education students has grown in this district. And so making sure that we have the support in place for that is key, because as Dr. Jared said earlier, they're coming in SPED. And we have to be careful, because the principals are nodding right now, because if we don't have the support for some of our students with the greatest needs, y'all don't have to nod that hard. I mean, You can just kind of smile and nod, but yeah, right. But the team does such a phenomenal job of meeting the needs of those individuals. But we just wanted to walk you through, and then you see some of those names highlighted in yellow, and those are names that are funded federally. So that doesn't hit our local budget. And then lastly, board, the next page is page 17 in your board book. And this is what from HR, from Human Resources, and this is a position control sheet. So this just highlights the positions and the funding tied to those positions that we have that has been reduced from the department just in the past couple of years. So as you can see, the C&I department is not as verbose as it has been in the past, yet we continue to offer very targeted, intentional support to meet campus needs. And we have been very fiscally responsible saving, because, board, as you know, we can cut as many paper and cut as much water as we want out of our budget, but 80% of our budget is personnel, so we have to be very careful about where we're saving funds. And so that is delineated for you, just for your records. Once again, not putting that on the screen just because that's for you. But board, I'm super excited about the intentional work we're doing. And it is absolutely my pleasure to see what questions that you may have about our Tier 1 instruction, how we're bringing it all together, or about the organization of the department.
So there's 3 levels, Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3?
Thank you. Yes, there's 3 levels. So Tier 1 is the first instruction. It's when kids go into the classroom. It's what they're supposed to learn. It's what the teacher is teaching the first time. If we see that students still aren't getting that, there's opportunity for Tier 2, meaning that can be done in class by small groups. That can be done by, just kind of scaffolding things into the lesson. But then Tier 3, that's where we really have to be intentional about after-school tutoring, win-time tutoring, things of that nature, more aggressive information that students probably didn't get. Yeah.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
And I guess, could you reiterate what type of support we're providing to new teachers and uncertified teachers?
Thank you very much. The support that we have to our new teachers, we have a professional development department of 1. And she does a phenomenal job of creating and opportunities for our teachers. For an example, we just had something called Rise Academy. Rise Academy is professional development that's offered monthly for our new teachers. Where they come to the district, and at the district level, we're providing them with resources and training for our new teachers. In addition to that, we have our instructional coaches on the campus that identify those teachers. We ask our principals to tier their teachers. And so those teachers are tiered based on student data, based on several factors, but student data, years of expertise, things that they're struggling on. So those brand new or uncertified teachers, if Tier 3, there is extensive support for them at the campus level. In addition to that, C&I is partnering with them to make sure in the PLC process or in the internalization process through PLC that we're walking side by side with them. President Colton, I would also like to say, and this is just a plug for them, they've been a phenomenal partner with us. Sustain Ed, walking side by side with us, customizing support. And that's one of the reasons that we went with them, because you say uncertified or new teachers. Their ability to understand, okay, you've got these new teachers, we will customize support just for them and work with these principals and walk with these principals and work with those teachers. So those layers of support that we have for them is quite extensive, and we're very thankful for the support that we have for those. And not to mention the things that the principals are doing on the campus, to support them as well. I don't know if any principal wants to talk about that or if you're interested in hearing that, President Colton. Thank you. Any principal wants to talk about specifically on the campus how you're supporting your new teachers?
I can speak with to Sustain Ed because
teachers giving me just feedback, giving me, just some ideas and things I can immediately, implement with all the things that's going on campus, right? Sometimes it's time to just think, okay, what can I do? I had a person there, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, provide support with PLCs and just giving on-the-spot practical advice to really see growth in teachers immediately to help really drive the student growth and impact that we're looking for. So it's good.
Trustee Cole, would you also, I'm sorry, we have one more. Yeah, please.
They're also modeling lessons for the teachers. So they're not only are they assisting in PLCs, but if we identify a teacher through walkthroughs, a brand new teacher who may need to see someone teach this lesson before they teach it, they are doing that. And I was glad to have had my coach do that last week. But the same teacher that we've been talking about, he's getting everything. But they modeled a whole hour lesson, a 90-minute lesson for him. And then they watched him teach the lesson later that day.
Trustee Cole, one of the things that's different from last year, because we've aligned the departments into one, everybody knows what's going on. So when Sustain Ed is working with, let's say, Ms. Crosby at Daniel, the coordinator also knows that Sustain Ed is working with them, what they're working with them on. So when the coordinator is there, they're also aligning their support. The deputies also know what Sustain Ed is working on and what the coordinators are working on. So they're also aligning their support. That alignment piece is critical because, just to be quite frank, one of the most frustrating things to do is when you're getting one thing from one person, another thing from another person, another thing from another person, and that's how we were operating. And so the alignment piece is going to be very beneficial for us.
So does each teacher, a new teacher or you certified teacher, do they have some type of documented professional development plan that is updated periodically, or we're monitoring and tracking everything? I'm just wondering, how that happens.
Yes, ma'am. If I understand correctly, I hear you saying if a teacher is new or if they are not certified, are they automatically on a professional development plan? And I would say, no, they're not automatically on a professional development plan. However, if they are identified, keep in mind, just because they're new, what we're looking at is their data. So if their data is showing that because they're new, they're not trending, that's going to trigger a coaching cycle for them. That's going to trigger a plan for them. That's going to trigger exactly what support they're going to need. And so that data is going to tell us the story of who needs that support, and that is the thing that's going to trigger the plan of support or the professional development training that they will need, or the specialized and customized knee-by-knee coaching that they will need. More so than if they're there. Because we actually have some new teachers that are rock stars. We actually, I'm sure that we actually have some new teachers that they're coming in and they're showing some of the veterans how to do it, and they're outscoring and they're outperforming, and they're very comfortable with the support that they have. And so we're allowing that data to kind of tell us what that looks like.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Very much.
All right, you're gonna rush me, Coach. I promise you I'm gonna go fast, Coach. I'm gonna go fast for you, Coach. He really does love me, guys. Nevertheless, I am gonna go fast, but I do wanna hit on a little bit on the big rocks. And what I'll tell you is that if you look at the slide that I put up, to the left, you see things that are different. But I wanna talk a little bit about these big rocks. And what I'll tell you, and I'm gonna go quick, but this work is my passion. And, when I reflect upon 13 years ago, I had an opportunity to go through training with the University of Virginia around transformational work. And one thing that's for sure is that we are sitting in a transformational district, and that's a good thing. We're sitting in a district where we are our children's best hope. Many of the children that walk in our schools every day, we are their best hope, and we gotta get it right. And I am so happy that I will spend the rest of my career in this space, and that I have an opportunity to impact children who truly do need me. Now, one thing I'll tell you, as I went through last year, though, and I'm self-diagnosed as ADD, so I can be all over the place. But one thing that we learned through training in turnaround is that you have to remain focused. And you have to remain focused on what we call the big rocks. And the big rocks are those things that are going to make the measurable difference for students. And that's why I draw in this diagram, the students are in the center, because everything we're doing and building is about our students. The first thing we talked about was curriculum. And, we took a little bit of slack when we selected Bluebonnet curriculum. And if you'll remember, even when we selected that curriculum, the thing that I was most attracted to was that it was developed, vetted, and supported by the state. Just last week, Trustee Vera Cruz and I had an opportunity to hear our state commissioner at an event over in Dallas. And if you'll remember, he stressed how important it was that we district and complemented districts that did select Bluebonnet, and also spoke to how that curriculum will be aligned to the test. So if you think about it, this is the same people that developed the test that developed the curriculum. So there are opportunities there for us to make sure that our students are receiving a high quality curriculum. And let me agree with Ms. Hernandez. If you get that first teach right, that can take you almost to where you need to be. Now, at the same time, I want to talk about data-driven decisions, and I've already shared that that's the area that I think we've made the most improvement as a district. I have this wonderful team of people that are worried about every child every day, but I don't like to lose, and I unapologetically will play the game, okay? There will be no points left on the table. We're going to get every advantage that these large systems, like our Dallases and our Houstons, because they have these huge departments of people, we're calling those folks. And I tell you, I'm telling Sam, call down to Houston, find out what they're doing. You got to find a person in that department that can tell you what they're doing. We've done that. When we look at Ms. Hernandez and all of Dallas' secrets that she's been able to bring over and share with us, we are executing on those things. A quick story about, and this is Mr. Colbert. I'm so proud of Mr. Colbert. And if I tell you that I'm up there, we're walking algebra classes. So we're walking algebra classes. And I'm concerned too, because algebra plays a huge part of our accountability score. So we're in a class, it's probably 3 weeks in, and there's a coach in the classroom working with the teacher. And my question is, how did the coach even know that this teacher needs work? Well, because they are testing daily, and they had done what's called a quick check. And because they are ranked every week based on their quick checks, they knew this teacher, who is a coach, also needed support, and they had that coach to come in and work. So that's how quick we're turning data around and making changes. Intervention and how we're aligning our intervention so that we make sure that it's specific, it's intentional. When we do win time, we're taking advantage of that so that it can pay off for every child every day. And of course, professional development. We've talked a lot about how we're supporting our new teachers, and I've probably been on every one of these campuses probably at least 2 or 3 times this year already. One thing I'll say in the space of professional development is that every one of these guys sings the praises of our partnership with Sustained Ed. And I thank the board for allowing us to make that change when we looked at who do we want to partner with. Because remember, the state, in order for us to receive the resources, dollars for our Tier 1 curriculum, does require us to have that third-party think partner. Sustained Ed has been amazing. I know Ms. Hernandez worked with them in Dallas, so there's already a relationship there, and we know how to continue to maximize on what they're doing. And of course, just that leadership component. It's got to happen now, it's got to happen fast, and it's got to happen for every child. We are not yet perfect, but we are working to make sure we give our children the very best that we have every day. And, I'm just so thankful to work alongside these principals and certainly alongside the staff who is working hard to make sure that we're pushing forward for students. It's sad when I say this last 3 weeks has been a lot of work in dog years. It has been, because we've probably had 2 specific, I know the deputy chief spoke of this, we've had 2 professional developments almost in the moment based upon things that we see and have observed, and continue to look forward to pushing that space as we race to the finish line for children this year. Next thing I want to share here, though, is again our commitment to the board, and we're just very excited to have the board so engaged in our conversation around accountability. What we've presented here is what we lay out as a possible timeline as to how we will continue to work with the board so that monthly we will continue to have these conversations. And of course, I'll work closely with the president. She and I will review this, and she'll work. I know she works with the board as we look at how do we make sure that we are continuing to provide the board with that timely information as it relates to our accountability and how we're performing. If you look at the schedule there, we would like to do another call meeting, and I can't, is that, well, today's a call meeting, I got that one, but the next one, it's February, and that's what we will be able to we'll have our benchmark data by then, we'll have our DCAs by then, we'll have our mid-year I-Ready assessments by then, and what that will kick off what we call just the countdown to STAR, and that's where, you know, one of the directors spoke the other day, and someone said, well, what do we do if the benchmarks aren't good? And the thing was, well, that's when I go in and I start teaching math. So if you hear I'm teaching math, you'll know why. But again, it's all hands on deck this year. And let me promise the board, you will get our very best effort as we go into this testing season, and really excited about the progress that I know we'll see as a district. Any questions?
Thank y'all. Thank you.
Thank y'all. Do you know? All right, right. Well, and we are available. I mean, as you have more questions, we're here to answer those questions. But thank you so much again on behalf of our entire team for your support. We cannot do this work without the support of the board. Thank you.